What's up YouTube? So recently I got an amazing question on my Patreon community about the raw market, especially in vintage and pre-modern, and I wanted to share my perspective with all of you guys, not only the Patreon members. That being said guys, if in the end up enjoying this video, please consider to leave a like, means a lot to me and is the best way to show support. If you are a new viewer, also consider to subscribe. There is two links that are quite important below the video, my Patreon community and my Discord server, so feel free to check both. Now let's go into the video and I hope you have fun. The question number one goes this way. In your opinion, when do you think we'll get a sense of the pre-modern raw population in terms of certain cards that stop eating the market? I'm referring to cards and stickers that are manufactured in countries like Spain, Brazil, Argentina and other countries in Europe. Since it's hard to know how many are out there, what signs will you look for to determine a good buy opportunity for the main ones? Let me know if the question is clear, thanks. Well, thank you so much for putting this question on the Patreon side. I know you are also a new Patreon member, so welcome to the community. We are super happy to have you with us. And this is an amazing question, but what's the bad part about this question is also a very difficult one to answer, is a very complex topic. Let's start this way, and this could be the short answer. We do not know. I think it's fair to say that everyday pops are more realistic, but each case will be a case. 6 factors to have in mind when approaching a topic like this. That's a very complex one. What's the topic? Basically is the supply in the pre-modern market, in the vintage market. Rarity is very different from country to country. A card from Portugal or Belgium most likely will be much scarcer than a card from Italy or Spain. There is a lot of factors into this. Well, first of all, Portugal and Belgium are small countries, so when we compare with the United Kingdom, England, when we compare with Italy, Portugal is actually, and Belgium, the same very small country. Apart from that, there is also the culture. Certain countries in Europe, Italy being probably the best example, the sticker culture was huge. I mean, Panini is from Italy, so you can imagine the connection there is quite strong. So the second point is awareness is another key factor. Certain cards got a lot of media attention around the boom. I guess I can give you an example. Cristiano Ronaldo Mega Cracks. At one point, there was a lot of websites in Portugal talking about that card selling for X amount of money. And automatic and collectors in Portugal know this. We saw more Ronaldo Mega Cracks appearing on the market because people realize, you know what, this old card I have in my binder maybe worth something, maybe actually life-changing money for me. So Messi Unbeat and Ronaldo Mega Cracks are two good examples of this. I believe the Mega Cracks for Messi even end up appearing on TV. So put in perspective how things can get when there is a lot of attention for certain card, awareness goes to a different level. But there is more examples. Some of these cards will stable first than most cards, but we still have some years to go. What I mean with this, look, the reality is I trust more the pop for Lionel Messi cards and Cristiano Ronaldo cards than I trust for most pre-modern players. Why? Because I know the awareness has been strong for them and a lot of the important cards, talking about rookies for example, second years, they have been coming to the market because people know they have value. For certain players that are legends, I guess I can give you an example. Del Piero, Pirlo. I'm not sure if we still have a good sense of the supply. We may never get to a point that awareness is so strong for those players, so that may not even matter. But I trust the Cristiano Ronaldo market. I trust the Pelé, the Messi market more than I trust the normal players, since the awareness has been strong for them. But I still believe we have a long road in front of us. So don't think I'm saying you can buy it since the pop is already stable. No, I don't even think that's the case. We still have years in front of us to feel like that. Will be 1 year, 2 years, 5 years? Honestly, I do not know. If I had to give you a prediction, and I think that's the fun part of the question, I think around 2026 we probably will have a much better idea of what's going on in terms of rarity for the key cards. Third point, when a card gets a lot of attention for the first time, you need to be careful. You actually need to be really careful. Why? A lot of amazing copies can still come out to the market, so even condition rarity is dangerous. After that, and both Mega Cracks are amazing examples, the two main rookies for Messi and Ronaldo, we see that condition rarity becomes more relevant over time, since most copies are low mid-graders after the boom. Natural process that we have been seeing happen several times in our market. Point number 4, pops going up in pre-modern and vintage is a good sign, means that we still have people exploring the hobby, and pops only go up, that's the reality, unless there is some scandal, but let's forget about that. You need to know how to distinguish condition rarity from strong rarity. It's not easy, and I'm totally aware of that, but you need to have some sense of that. What is actually really difficult to find no matter the grade, so strong rarity, and what, those cards, they are quite common, but guess what? In a PSA 9, in a PSA 10, in a PSA 8 maybe, they are extremely difficult to find, and you should focus on the best copies if that's the case. And certain cards, they don't have any type of rarity, so that's another thing to have in mind. Most of our key cards are still fairly low pop. Unfortunately, we cannot control the key variables in your market. What are the two key variables in our market? Talking about pre-modern and vintage, supply and demand. Why I'm saying pre-modern and vintage? Because in reality, in modern, with numbered cards, you can control the supply or have an idea about the supply. Demand, you never control. But try to put things in perspective. Ronaldinho has only one rookie card, with 85 copies at PSA right now. It may sound silly for a lot of you guys, since you are a fan of my channel, but some collectors think that Ronaldinho card is too common. Why? Because their perspective end up getting to a point that everything in soccer that was above 20 copies, 50 copies is not investable anymore. I totally disagree with that, especially for players with just one rookie, and I have a video about this on my channel where I give the example of Ronaldinho, Zidane, Van Basten. Those players, they just have one rookie, and that alone tends to be quite huge. Imagine if Messi had just one rookie. You can tell me, okay, but Messi is a special player, and I totally agree with you, but when you have one rookie, look, 85 copies for Ronaldinho, that seems extremely low. I'm not trying to push the Ronaldinho market, to be honest. I love to collect Ronaldinho, but you should apply this logic to other players. I think, like I was giving you a couple of good examples, Zidane, Van Basten, Ibrahimovic, Platini, all of those guys have tremendous potential if you ask me. In a long bear market, and I believe we are facing one, a common mistake of many collectors is to focus too much on rarity and forget that the iconic card is much more than that. So this is something we tend to see. I collect other markets like Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, Magic, and this is also a common trend where we face long bear markets. People try to focus on niche stuff because they think, you know what, this is still unexplored, this have probably strong rarity, or at least the awareness is not crazy, so rarity for certain point in time can be strong there, and they focus too much on that. I do this mistake. I think you guys probably also do this mistake, when in reality, and this is my perspective, iconic cards tend to be the ones that perform the best because those are the cards that collectors want. Hey guys, quick pause on this one. Hope you are enjoying the video, but I want to share two things with you. The first is my Patreon community. If you love this type of videos, you probably love my content on Patreon. I put a new Q&A every week there, and I also put extra audio that you can call a podcast on Saturday. If you join Patreon right now, you have hours and hours and hours of content. It's actually quite crazy. Link below the video if you want to join. In this case, link on the description. The second thing is my Discord server. Amazing place to interact with me, amazing place to interact with other collectors, to learn about the soccer card market. We are more than 900 members and we are growing super fast. Link also below the video, check both, and now let's continue with this one. Now let's take a look at something that I think is quite interesting, and look, the secret is simple. Constantly track the cards you are interested in, not just pop reports. Try to have a sense of the raw market. What I mean, the raw market. Basically, look, if you are collecting Cristiano Ronaldo, you need to go to eBay, you need to talk with Portuguese collectors, you need to go to some Portuguese websites that may give you a better sense of what's going on with that market. Pop reports, on the other hand, those are much easier to track. You can go to GemRate or to the PSA website and look at the pop report. Go to the SGC and the Beckett one. The Beckett you probably will struggle, but you'll find most likely the pop reports for the Cristiano Ronaldo card you are targeting. That said, I'm preparing something for you that I think is interesting to put in perspective. So let's take a look at certain cards that I consider very important in the pre-modern market and see how the pop have been going in the last couple of months. So looking at the Thierry Henry Melhores de Equipos Europa, small detail that is actually a huge detail, this is the Russian version. So this is actually the most difficult card to find in the rookie season for Thierry Henry. You can see that no copies graded since December. And I also remember 1 year ago, 2 years ago, talking with other collectors that they may thought, you know what, I believe the Russian version is probably difficult to find, but I'm not sure about true rarity, strong rarity, or if it's just lack of awareness. And to be fair, in Russia, lack of awareness is probably quite normal. But now, and this is just my opinion, take with a grain of salt, I actually believe this card is extremely difficult to find. It does not surprise me that much that no copies have been graded since December. I tracked this card to find the copy raw, and very, very difficult. Can this card go up in pop reports? Of course, and that will be the most likely scenario. Maybe tomorrow there is one added to the pop, maybe even two, but my opinion does not change about this card. I think it's actually a card that is very difficult to find, and that's why I started saying each case will be a case. Another amazing example is actually the Cristiano Ronaldo sticker that for a long time I've been saying is actually the most difficult rookie for Cristiano Ronaldo. I have almost no doubt about that. I talk with collectors in Portugal that actually track this sticker and the Mega Cracks very heavy, and they all tend to say the same thing. Look, Andre, for every, let's say, 5 Mega Cracks cards I find, some people even say 6, 7, I find one sticker. So that alone gives me confidence on a market, on the market for this sticker in particular. One thing that I thought was quite interesting was the pop report around the boom actually ended up increasing. Very normal, right? But since late November, only 3 copies end up getting added to the PSA pop report. And from what I know, PSA have been not stopping grading these stickers. So a small detail that is, again, another huge detail. One of the reasons the market for this sticker is down has to be with all the fakes related with BGS. Different story for another day. You probably are aware of what I'm talking about, but at PSA they have been doing a good job in my perspective, and I trust the PSA pop report. Now let's take a look at Ronaldinho, the example I was giving you a couple of minutes ago. Since December, only 5 copies have been added to the pop report at PSA. And this one I have to explain myself a bit more. Why? Because I've been quite critical about the Brazilian market in the past, and I still have my concerns about the Brazilian market in the past. I think there is a huge lack of awareness, so I actually trust the pop report more for the Cristiano Ronaldo market since I'm Portuguese and I have a good sense of the market than I trust the pop for Ronaldinho. That said, the reality is numbers, they are still fairly low, and 5 copies since December for all the awareness this sticker already have in my perspective seems very optimistic, at least for me is very optimistic if you are engaging in the Ronaldinho market. But I have a couple of more examples that I also think are amazing to take a look, to debate in the comments. Again, let's take a look at the Mega Crack 7 on Beast Lionel Messi. So, since January, 28 copies end up getting added to the pop report. Quite more than the examples I was giving you a couple of seconds ago. But I also think, and this is very fair to say, this card have crazy awareness, and there is also a lot of people cracking from BGS, from SCC, trying to get another grade. So the pop report gets much more tricky because of that. That said, there is an amazing detail on this one. So 28 copies since January. Okay, Not even that much if you ask me. But the reality is, if you look in the timeline of May 2021 to May 2022, PSA 8, now I will focus on condition rarity. PSA 8 end up in 1 year span end up getting graded 19 copies. This gives 1.6 per mount. Now take a look at this detail that I think is very interesting. Since January of this year until now, so 4 months in, 1 card graded in the PSA 8. Not talking about Pop Report total, I'm talking about the PSA 8 total in particular. 1 card graded. At this rate, and of course, like I was saying a couple of minutes ago, track the Pop daily, weekly, is up to you, but you need to be very engaged with the market if you are investing in soccer. But at this rate, there is a scenario that in 2023, the PSA 8 Pop end up increasing between 3 to 4 copies. You can tell me, that's actually crazy when comparing with 19 copies, 1 year ago, 2 years ago. I agree. That's what I'm trying to say. Condition rarity eventually becomes a thing. I also track the Spanish market, I would say close, and most of the copies I see for this mess in particular, they are probably PSA 4, PSA 5, PSA 3, maybe a PSA 7, PSA 6 at best. PSA 8, PSA 9, PSA 10s, those I'm not finding them anymore. This is just my experience. Maybe I'm not looking at the correct places in the correct time, but I'm sharing with you the feeling I have on the market for the Messi Avalon Bees, at least for very good grades. I consider very good grades 8 and above. Now, another example that I think is super interesting, and I think is an excellent example to talk about, Cruyff Palirex 68. Since January, 0 copies added to the PSA Pop report. I think that's fascinating. From April 2021 to April 2022, so 1 year span again, this card had an explosion in the Pop report of 110%. However, if we look at April 2022 to April 2023, only 12%. And guess what? Since January, like I was saying, 0 graded. What are we seeing right now on this card? You can see if you trace a line on the Messi Avalon Bees Pop total, it's fair to say that maybe there is a slowdown, but it's still going up. On this one, you cannot even trust, you cannot even put a line because the Pop is already finding some type of stabilization. So this is an amazing example of a card that I think people end up overreacting, and right now they may even be underrating or underreacting, not underrating. Why? Look, this is another card that comes from Portugal, and I can tell you, it's almost impossible to find this card raw. It's really difficult. Much more than the Cristiano Ronaldo sticker, to be honest with you. So I would not be surprised if long run this card actually have what we call strong rarity. Strong rarity, what is that? Well, it depends how you want to define. Maybe a card that have at maximum 200 copies in all the grading companies, and for a long time the awareness have been stronger, you consider strong rarity. I personally tend to agree with that. Maybe you think, you know what, strong rarity or true rarity, that are two different concepts to be fair, is cards that are Pop 10, Pop 20. If that's the case, soccer will disappoint you in a lot of players. But that being said, I think this card is getting to a point that eventually more collectors / investors will look at these numbers and say, you know what, they are not appearing anymore, maybe this is a good time to buy them, since they are still facing a correction because of the boom, because of the mania we saw 2 years ago, and could be an amazing entry point. I'm not saying it's the case for Cruyff, I'm just sharing with you something that can happen. Now another example, but this is a negative one, is the Ronaldo Mega Estrelas. An interesting case of study, if you ask me. At some point in your market, many collectors overrated this card. Personal opinion on this one. Most of our market grew immensely between 2021, but slowed down after that. Let's see the numbers for this Ronaldo. April 2021 to April 2022, 31 copies. Now, if I don't tell you, and you are probably already seeing on the screen the numbers in the 1 year after that, you may say, well, looking at all the cards you end up presenting today, most likely this card end up slowing down. Actually, no. From April 2022 to April 2023, 35 copies end up getting graded, so more than the previous year. And this goes into what I was explaining. Also have a sense on the raw market. If you go to Spain, for some reason, a lot of these have been appearing on the market. I can still find people selling this copy raw in the sheet where a lot of different cards come. So I would not be surprised by any means if this pop keeps increasing in a rate that don't give a lot of confidence if you are investing in a card like this. And this is what makes market crash. If you ask me, this card is down quite a lot, and I still think this card can go down quite a lot. Cruyff, I think, is a much better example because the card ended up going down quite a lot, but I actually trust the pop much more now. I also have more experience in the Portuguese market than I have in the Spanish market for logic reasons, but though this is my take about both the examples, and one I think is an amazing one, the other one I think you should be a bit scared, but again, it's also about perspective. 86 copies total graded in PSA for this sticker. You can tell me, Andre, that's still fairly low, and that's fair. But my perspective is just not because of the pop total right now. Is also that I still see a lot of them raw appearing in the market. So, discovery phase. In my last video, and by the way, if you end up not watching, check my last video on YouTube, Investing in Greatness for Franz Beckenbauer, Kaiser, one of the best players ever, and up sharing my perspective about his market, and I said we are in a discovery phase, and 100% we are in a discovery phase. So, if you look at the pop report for his main rookie, the Bergman card, you can see the line is quite clear. We are in a discovery phase, no doubt about that. Same logic should be applied for the Seeker Verlag. I also end up sharing with you a couple of other examples that we have a long road comparing with markets that are quite more stable than us. For example, the Mickey Mantle 52, the Black Lotus Unlimited. You can also put the beta or the alpha, does not matter. The graph will be very similar. So the growth is slow, and this gives trust for investors, for collectors. This also have to do with percentages, of course, but I think soccer eventually will have a similar line like the ones you are seeing on the screen. Certain cards will get there first, other cards will take a long time, and they may never be the way you want them to be. So have that in consideration. I thought this was an amazing question, and I tried my best to answer this one. Let's move on to the question number 2, and the question number 2 is a very fun one. I will ask this question again, as you might have missed it in the previous Q&A. Actually, I'm not missing this question, by the way. If you are starting your collection again and you had 1k, 10k or 100k, what would you buy for each? Let's say each tier. No financial advice, I know, but curious. Okay, I have an amazing answer for you.